Money roll, yeah, I'm looking at the bank statements, I do not want to jail, yeah, nuts with my gang, you be just a stain, cover on my chain.
Every place on our planet has a story to tell, of life, landscape, man, and the connections between them that stretch across space and time. This is the world as you've never seen it before. An immense gash in the Earth's crust, born of elemental violence. A primordial world of spectacular volcanoes, barren wastelands, and vast bottomless lakes. The Great Rift Valley of East Africa. 3,500 miles long, slicing south from Ethiopia to Mozambique. 35 million years old, and still growing. It sparked an explosion of life of every kind. Not to mention being the birthplace of humanity. The rift is the common thread connecting all these things. To see how a geological event has made this possible, we have to go back in time. 35 million years ago, deep below what is now Ethiopia. 2,000 miles down, close to the molten core of the Earth, extreme heat and pressure forced a bubble of liquid rock up toward the surface, where it swelled against the Earth's crust like a blister. But a blister 1,000 miles wide. It tore the landscape apart. This is what remains of that ancient upheaval. A volcanic wasteland in Northeast Africa that overlaps Ethiopia, Eritrea, and Djibouti. The Danakil Depression. Here, the Earth's crust has been so stretched and mangled by the rifting process that the whole landscape has sunk like a soufflé. In places, down to 500 feet below sea level. Cooling breezes can't get in. The heat can't get out. The Danakil Depression is the hottest place on Earth. It's hard to believe that only 30,000 years ago, a mere blink in geological time, this vast empty bowl was filled with seawater. But it was. Then the rift threw up a chain of volcanoes that cut it off from the rest of the ocean. In the unrelenting heat, the water gradually evaporated away. But it left something behind. Salt. The rift brought the salt, and the salt brought the Afar. The desert Afar people have been coming here to mine salt for 2,000 years. In hot climates, before there were refrigerators for preserving meat, salt was a treasured commodity. It was used as money in East Africa for thousands of years. The Afar call it white gold. There are 25 square miles of it here, and in places, it's 250 feet thick. The heat and stillness of this broad, sunken salt pan make it a brutal workplace. By 11 a.m., it's already over 100 degrees. The sodium chloride is so pure, it doesn't need any refining. It's ready to be used as is, as a preservative or just table salt. It can take a week to get it to market, 100 miles away, in the town of Asaida. A 7-day journey through a place where for 9 months out of the year, it doesn't rain at all. The Afar call the Danakil Depression the gateway to hell. For the Afar's pack animals, things may not be quite so bad. Camels are perfectly suited to the hostile conditions of the rift. They can tolerate a body temperature of 106 degrees, something that would kill most other animals, including us. To the relief of their masters, no doubt, camels don't sweat much, which conserves precious water. Their nostrils absorb and recycle moisture that would otherwise be lost when they exhale. But sometimes even camels need to drink. So do the Afar. And what the Great Rift takes with one hand, it gives with the other. The same geology that makes this place so hot and dry also supplies the key to survival here: water. If you know where to look. Because the rifting process that created this otherworldly landscape in the first place never stopped. It may seem counterintuitive, but the constant volcanic activity in this area is a thirsty traveler's best friend. A lattice work of subterranean fissures in the volcanic rock means that water seeps into the most unlikely places. Aquifers and hot springs are hidden throughout the Danakil Depression. For centuries, fathers have passed on the secret of their location to their sons. Drinking this mineral-rich volcanic water has also had an unexpected cosmetic result for these sturdy salt miners. Turns out, there's a lot of fluoride in the water. In small doses, fluoride strengthens teeth, but large amounts actually soften them, helping the Afar with a tradition that may set your own teeth on edge. For countless centuries, Afar men have chiseled their teeth to crocodile points. It's considered a sign of both resilience and a stoic indifference to pain, in a land where you need both. In Africa's Great Rift Valley, everything is connected to something else. It's the region's unusual geology that produces the high fluoride water, which in turn makes possible the Afar's crocodile teeth. And the rift also gives rise to a fashion statement of a very different kind. A 1,000 miles south of the Danakil Depression, there's a cluster of lakes right in the heart of the Rift Valley. Very unusual lakes. Here in Lake Bogoria, volcanic heat and pressure force steam up through deep bedrock. As the steam makes its tortured way towards the surface, it leaches chemicals from the rock. Not just fluoride, but caustic compounds, like sodium carbonate. The alkaline waters of these soda lakes are so corrosive, they burn your skin off. But one creature's toxic pool is another's 5-star restaurant. lesser flamingos. They're here to eat the algae that abound in these waters. Algae that are here because they thrive in that corrosive alkaline water. A flamingo's beak is designed to filter the algae from the mud. Just how becomes clear underwater. The flamingo pumps lake water in and out of its beak 20 times a second. Lining the beak are feathery hairs designed to trap the microscopic algae cells. The cells contain reddish-colored pigments called beta-carotenes. And that's what puts the pink in pink flamingos. Flamingos are born with white or light gray feathers. It's their algae diet from the rift's soda lakes that gives them their signature color. Needless to say, the silent partner in this strange transaction is the Great Rift itself. But neither these lakes, nor the Rift Valley's even more spectacular Great Lakes, would exist at all, were it not for an event of incalculable violence that took place 30 million years ago. When the Great Rift tore through East Africa millions of years ago, the land gave way without protest. Until an extraordinary thing happened. The continent of Africa fought back. The rift had carved its way south for over 10 million years. But then this unstoppable force met an immovable object. An ancient and extremely hard piece of the Earth's crust called a craton. The rift was forced to split in two and go around it. To the east, where the subterranean violence was most intense, volcanoes and earthquakes tormented the landscape. While on the western side of the craton, the relentless faulting opened up deep canyons, which filled with water. Today, these are the Great Lakes of Africa. Victoria, Malawi, Tanganyika. These vast lakes hold a quarter of the world's fresh surface water, which drains into them from the neighboring highlands. When a rift canyon 420 miles long fills with water, this is what you get. Lake Tanganyika, the longest freshwater lake in the world and Africa's deepest. If you include the massive layer of sediment at the bottom, Lake Tanganyika is 4 times deeper than the Grand Canyon. An enormous lake, rich in organic nutrients. It's not surprising that there are a lot of fish in Lake Tanganyika. A lot of fish. Which is why people have lived on these shores since ancient times. 1 million locals depend on fishing for their livelihoods. Every day, fishermen pull hundreds of tons of freshwater sardines out of Lake Tanganyika. They're known as daga. No need for refrigeration here. The intense tropical sun functions as a natural preservative, quickly drying the little fish. Now they'll keep for months. Daga provide 40% of the protein eaten in this region.
Money raw, yeah, I'm looking at the bank, say miss, I do not want your jail, yeah, nuts with my gang.